Learn English through story. Forbidden Kiss of the Heart. In the heart of the bustling city of New York, where dreams and desires collided, lived Sarah Bennett, a 35-year-old marketing executive at a prestigious firm. On the surface, Sarah's life seemed perfect. She had a successful career, a loving husband named Mark, and a beautiful apartment overlooking Central Park. But beneath the polished exterior, Sarah felt an emptiness gnawing at her soul, an insatiable longing for something more, a desire she couldn't quite articulate. Mark was a good man, he was kind, attentive, and devoted to their marriage. Yet, as the years passed, the spark that once ignited their romance had dimmed. Their relationship had settled into a comfortable routine of shared responsibilities and predictable conversations. Sarah often found herself lost in her thoughts, yearning for the passion she had once known. She felt as though she were living in a gilded cage, trapped by her own choices, suffocated by the mundanity of her daily life. It was during this time of introspection that Sarah met Daniel Reed. He was the new art director at her firm, a whirlwind of creativity and charisma that immediately captivated everyone around him. With tousled hair and piercing blue eyes, Daniel had an air of confidence that was hard to ignore. He brought fresh energy to the office, challenging the status quo and inspiring his colleagues to think outside the box. Sarah was drawn to him, not just for his talent, but for the passion he exuded in everything he did. As they collaborated on a major campaign, Sarah found herself laughing more, her heart racing at Daniel's playful banter. They shared late nights at the office, brainstorming ideas and indulging in deep conversations about art, life, and their dreams. Each moment spent with him was electric, igniting a spark within her that had long been dormant. Sarah couldn't help but feel alive again, but beneath the exhilaration lay a heavy weight of guilt. Sarah was a married woman, and the chemistry she felt with Daniel was both thrilling and terrifying. She tried to push the feelings aside, reminding herself of her commitment to Mark. But as the weeks turned into months, her connection with Daniel deepened, becoming a secret she struggled to contain. One evening, after a particularly grueling day at work, Sarah and Daniel found themselves alone in the office. The city lights twinkled outside the window, and the atmosphere was charged with unspoken tension. As they reviewed the final touches on their campaign, Daniel reached over and brushed a strand of hair behind Sarah's ear. The simple gesture sent shivers down her spine, and for a moment, time stood still. "Sarah," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper, "there's something about you that I can't shake. You're different from anyone I've ever met." His words hung in the air, and Sarah's heart raced. She felt a mixture of excitement and fear, knowing that she was treading dangerous ground. "Daniel, we shouldn't," she started, but he interrupted her, leaning closer. "I know we shouldn't, but I can't help how I feel," he admitted, his gaze intense. "You make me feel alive." Before she could respond, Daniel closed the gap between them and captured her lips with his. It was a kiss filled with longing and desire, a moment that shattered the walls Sarah had built around her heart. For those brief seconds, everything else faded away: the guilt, the fear, the responsibilities of her life. It was just the two of them, lost in a whirlwind of passion and emotion. As they pulled away, reality crashed back in. Sarah's mind raced with confusion and regret. She had crossed a line that she could never uncross. "We can't do this," she stammered, stepping back as if to distance herself from the heat of the moment. "I'm married," Daniel, I know. He replied, his voice filled with longing, but I can't pretend that I don't feel this connection between us. It's too strong to ignore. Torn between desire and duty, Sarah fled the office, her heart pounding. She drove home in a daze, replaying the kiss over and over in her mind. When she walked through the door, Mark greeted her with a warm smile, completely oblivious to the turmoil raging within her. "Hey, how was work?" he asked, wrapping his arms around her. "It was fine," Sarah replied, forcing a smile, but inside, she felt like a fraud, her heart heavy with the weight of her secret. In the days that followed, Sarah struggled to come to terms with what had happened. She avoided Daniel at the office, but every time she caught a glimpse of him, her heart would race. The chemistry was undeniable, and the forbidden nature of their connection only fueled her desire. Each time they crossed paths, she could feel the electricity crackling between them, igniting the flame of temptation that threatened to consume her. Yet, the guilt weighed heavily on her conscience. She loved Mark, and the thought of hurting him was unbearable. Every night, as she lay beside him, Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of shame for her actions. She knew she had to make a choice, but the thought of letting go of the passion she had found with Daniel terrified her. One fateful evening, after weeks of internal conflict, Sarah found herself alone in the office again with Daniel. The air was thick with tension, and she could feel the magnetic pull between them. "We need to talk," she said, her voice shaky as she tried to regain control. "I can't stop thinking about you," Daniel confessed, stepping closer. "I know this is wrong, but I feel like we're meant to be together." "Stop," Sarah whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "You don't understand what you're asking. I'm married. I can't just throw everything away." "Are you happy with him?" Daniel challenged, his eyes searching hers. "Does he make you feel the way I do?" The truth hung heavy in the air, and Sarah felt exposed. The passion she had experienced with Daniel was intoxicating, but it was also a reflection of her own unhappiness. She realized that she had been living in a state of complacency, going through the motions without truly connecting with Mark on a deeper level. In that moment of vulnerability, Sarah felt the dam of her emotions break. "No, he doesn't," she admitted, her voice breaking. "I haven't felt truly alive in years." "Then why not explore this?" Daniel urged gently. "Why not let yourself feel? You deserve happiness, Sarah." The words resonated deep within her, awakening something she had long suppressed, but fear gripped her heart. "What about the consequences?" "I can't hurt him. I can't hurt anyone." "I know," Daniel replied softly, reaching for her hand. "But you can't keep denying your own heart. Life is too short to live in fear." His touch sent a jolt of electricity through her, and in that moment, Sarah felt torn between her past and an uncertain future. She wanted to be free, to embrace the passion that had ignited her spirit, but she also understood the weight of her choices and the impact they would have on those she loved. As if sensing her conflict, Daniel leaned in and kissed her again. This time, it was different, full of urgency and desperation. The kiss consumed her, and for a moment, Sarah lost herself in the fire of desire. She kissed him back, surrendering to the feelings that had been building between them. But as their lips met, she was struck by the gravity of what they were doing. Pulling away, Sarah gasped, her heart racing. "I can't," she said breathlessly, stepping back. "I have to think about this." Daniel nodded, understanding the turmoil in her eyes. "Take your time, Sarah. Just know that I'm here for you, no matter what you choose." That night, Sarah returned home, her mind racing. She lay in bed next to Mark, staring at the ceiling, haunted by the choices before her. The warmth of her husband's body felt foreign as the ghost of Daniel lingered in her thoughts. As she turned away from Mark, she felt the weight of the decision pressing on her heart. Days turned into weeks, and Sarah wrestled with her emotions. She tried to suppress her feelings for Daniel, burying herself in work and attempting to reignite the spark with Mark. But every time she saw Daniel, the connection flared back to life, igniting a fire within her that was impossible to extinguish. The office became a battleground of conflicting emotions. Sarah found herself stealing glances at Daniel during meetings, her heart racing as their eyes met. It was as if they shared a secret, a bond that transcended the boundaries of their lives. Each encounter was charged with unspoken words, each touch a reminder of the passion that lingered just beneath the surface. One evening, while attending a work event, Sarah and Daniel found themselves alone on the rooftop terrace, overlooking the city skyline. The atmosphere was electric, the air thick with anticipation. "We need to talk," Sarah began, her voice trembling. "This can't go on." "Why not?" Daniel asked, stepping closer. "Why can't we explore this connection? We have something special." Sarah, tears welled in her eyes as Sarah fought against the tide of emotions crashing over her. "Because it's wrong. I can't hurt Mark. I can't destroy everything we've built together." "But are you truly happy?" Daniel pressed, his gaze unwavering. "You deserve to feel alive. You deserve happiness." Sarah felt the truth in his words, the aching reality of her own unhappiness. But the thought of breaking Mark's heart was unbearable. "I don't know what to do," she admitted, her voice breaking. "Take a chance," Daniel urged softly, his voice laced with sincerity. "Let yourself feel. Life is too precious to waste on fear." The words hung in the air, and in that moment, Sarah felt a surge of courage. She realized that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but she also understood that denying her own heart would only lead to regret. Taking a deep breath, she made her choice. "Okay," Sarah said, her voice steady, "let's explore this. Let's see where it leads." As their lips met in a passionate kiss, Sarah felt a rush of exhilaration. She was stepping into the unknown, embracing the forbidden kiss of her heart. In that moment, everything felt right, the world around them fading away as they lost themselves in each other. But as the initial thrill of passion settled, reality crashed back in. Sarah knew that their connection came with consequences, and the road ahead would not be easy. They decided to keep their relationship a secret, meeting in hidden corners of the city, away from prying eyes. Each stolen moment felt like a rebellious act, igniting a fire within her that was both exhilarating and terrifying. As the weeks passed, Sarah found herself navigating a delicate balance between her life with Mark and her secret romance with Daniel. The thrill of the forbidden only heightened her feelings, but it also brought a sense of guilt that shadowed every encounter. She would return home to Mark, forcing herself to smile and engage in conversations that felt increasingly hollow. Each day was a reminder of the choices she had made, and the weight of deception hung heavy in the air. One evening, as they sat in a cozy cafe tilde copyright, Daniel took Sarah's hand, his gaze piercing. "What are we doing, Sarah? I don't want to be a secret. I want to be with you openly." The words sent a wave of panic through her. "I can't just leave Mark, he deserves better than that," she replied, her heart racing. "Does he really?" Daniel challenged, his voice steady. "You're not happy. And you're not being true to yourself. You deserve to live your life fully." "I know," Sarah whispered, tears welling in her eyes, "but I don't want to hurt him. I can't destroy everything we've built." Daniel sighed, his expression softening. "I understand. But I can't keep hiding. I want more than just stolen moments. I want a future with you." The weight of his words settled heavily on Sarah's heart. She felt a wave of longing wash over her, but it was intertwined with fear. She wanted to embrace the life she had envisioned with Daniel, but the thought of leaving Mark felt insurmountable. Days turned into weeks, and Sarah found herself increasingly torn. She could feel the cracks in her marriage widening, the distance between her and Mark growing more pronounced. They were both aware that something had shifted, but neither spoke of it. The silence became a chasm that echoed with unspoken words, leaving Sarah feeling suffocated. One evening, after a particularly tense dinner with Mark, Sarah found herself unable to sleep. She lay awake in bed, her mind racing with thoughts of Daniel and the life she yearned for. The longing pulsed through her veins like a fever, and she knew she couldn't continue living this way. As dawn broke, she made a decision. Sarah would tell Mark the truth. It was time to confront the reality of their marriage and the choices that lay ahead. That afternoon, Sarah found Mark in their living room, engrossed in a book. He looked up as she entered, a smile spreading across his face, but as she stood before him, her heart raced with fear. "Mark, can we talk?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Of course," he replied, concern etching his features. "What's on your mind?" Taking a deep breath, Sarah felt the weight of her confession settle on her shoulders. "I've been unhappy for a while now, and there's something I need to tell you." As she shared her truth, the words tumbled out like a torrent. She spoke of her feelings for Daniel, of the passion and connection they had shared. Mark listened in stunned silence, the hurt in his eyes cutting her to the core. "I never wanted to hurt you, Mark," she said, her voice breaking. "I've been struggling with this for so long, I didn't know how to tell you." When she finished, the room was thick with tension. Mark sat there, his expression a mix of pain and disbelief. "How could you do this to us, Sarah?" he finally managed, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't expect you to understand," she replied, tears streaming down her face, "but I can't keep living a lie. You deserve someone who loves you wholeheartedly." The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken emotions. Finally, Mark spoke, his voice steady despite the hurt. "I thought we were happy. I thought we had a good marriage. Why didn't you talk to me about this?" "I didn't want to hurt you," she admitted, "but I've realized that I can't continue to deny my own feelings. I need to find out who I am outside of this marriage." Mark's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "So, you've made your choice then? You're leaving me for him?" Sarah nodded, the weight of her decision pressing down on her. "I'm so sorry, Mark. I never meant for things to end this way." As the words hung in the air, Mark stood, his expression shifting from disbelief to sadness. "I need time to process this," he said, his voice trembling. "I loved you, Sarah. I thought we had a future together." The ache in her chest deepened as she watched the man she had once loved with all her heart crumble before her. "I'm sorry," she repeated, feeling the enormity of her choices weighing heavily upon her. As Mark walked away, Sarah felt a sense of loss wash over her. She knew she had made the right decision, but the pain of leaving her marriage shattered her. The reality of her choices settled in like a lead weight, and she felt both liberated and heartbroken. Days turned into weeks, and Sarah moved into a small apartment, seeking solace in the freedom she had fought for. The initial thrill of being with Daniel was exhilarating, but it was quickly overshadowed by the emotional fallout of her decision. She grappled with guilt over Mark's pain, her heart heavy with the knowledge that she had shattered their life together. Daniel was there for her, offering comfort and support. They shared passionate nights and whispered dreams of a future together. But the shadow of Sarah's past loomed large. She couldn't escape the guilt that threatened to consume her. And every time they were together, she felt a pang of regret for the pain she had caused. One evening, as they sat on the balcony of her new apartment, Sarah turned to Daniel, her heart heavy with doubt. "Is this really what you want?" she asked softly. "I don't want to be a burden." "Of course it is," Daniel replied, his gaze unwavering. "I care about you, Sarah. I want to build a future together." "But I hurt Mark," she whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. "I don't want to hurt anyone again." "Life is complicated," Daniel said gently, "but you deserve happiness. You're not responsible for how he feels. You made the choice that was right for you." As the sun dipped below the horizon, Sarah felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. She had chosen to embrace her desires, to pursue a love that had awakened her spirit, but she also understood that healing would take time. In the following months, Sarah worked to rebuild her life, embracing her newfound freedom while navigating the complexities of her emotions. She sought therapy to help process her feelings and to come to terms with the choices she had made. Each session was a step toward healing, allowing her to confront the pain and guilt she carried. As she continued to explore her relationship with Daniel, Sarah found herself slowly rediscovering her sense of self. They traveled together, experienced new things, and shared laughter and joy. With Daniel, she felt free to express her desires, to embrace the passion that had once felt forbidden. But despite the love she felt for Daniel, shadows of her past lingered. There were moments when she found herself reflecting on her marriage with Mark, the life they had built together. She had loved him deeply, and the pain of their separation still weighed heavily on her heart. One evening, as she and Daniel walked through a park, Sarah paused to watch the sunset. The vibrant colors painted the sky, and she felt a sense of peace wash over her. Daniel stood beside her, wrapping an arm around her shoulder. "What's on your mind?" he asked, sensing her contemplation. "I'm just thinking about how far I've come," she replied softly. "It's been a journey. Life is all about growth," Daniel said, his gaze warm. "You've taken a brave step toward finding happiness." "I know," she said, her voice filled with gratitude, "but I still carry the weight of my choices. I don't want to forget what I've learned along the way." As they stood together, Sarah felt a sense of clarity. She realized that her past didn't define her, it was a part of her journey. She could honor her experiences without allowing them to dictate her future. Over time, Sarah and Daniel's relationship deepened, evolving into a partnership built on trust, honesty, and shared dreams. They navigated challenges together, celebrating their victories and supporting each other through the storms of life. Sarah learned to communicate openly, to express her desires and fears without the burden of guilt. But the journey was not without its hurdles. One evening, as they were discussing their future, Daniel brought up the topic of commitment. "What do you see for us, Sarah?" he asked, his expression serious. "I want to build a life together," she replied, her heart racing. "But I need to be sure. I don't want to rush into anything." "I understand," he said, his voice steady, "but I want you to know that I'm in this for the long haul. I care about you deeply." As the words hung in the air, Sarah felt a rush of emotions. She wanted to embrace the love they had built, to dive into the future with him, but the fear of repeating her past loomed large. "What if I can't commit fully?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Then we take it one step at a time," Daniel replied, his gaze unwavering. "There's no rush, we'll navigate this together." The conversation left Sarah feeling hopeful yet anxious. She understood that love required vulnerability, and she was willing to embrace that fear. As the days passed, she focused on building her new life, cultivating her passions and dreams while nurturing her relationship with Daniel. In the quiet moments of reflection, Sarah felt a sense of peace settle within her. She had faced the storm of her desires, confronted the demons of her past, and emerged stronger. The kiss that had once felt forbidden had transformed into a symbol of liberation, a reminder that she had the power to choose her own path. Months turned into a year, and as Sarah stood in front of a canvas in her new art studio, she felt a surge of inspiration. She had rediscovered her love for painting, pouring her emotions onto the canvas with each stroke. It was a form of therapy, a way to express the complexities of her journey. One evening, as she painted, Daniel entered the studio, a bouquet of wildflowers in hand. "These reminded me of you," he said, a warm smile lighting up his face. "Thank you," Sarah replied, her heart swelling with affection. "They're beautiful." As they spent the evening together, Sarah felt a deep sense of connection. She looked into Daniel's eyes and saw the love and support that had helped her heal. "I've been thinking about us," she said, her voice steady. "I want to take that next step. I want to be committed to you." Daniel's expression softened, and he took her hands in his. "You don't have to rush into anything, Sarah. I'm here for you, no matter what." "No, I want this," she insisted, her heart racing. "I want to build a future with you, to embrace our love fully." As Daniel pulled her into a warm embrace, Sarah felt a wave of relief wash over her. She had finally found the courage to embrace her desires and the love that had transformed her life. The forbidden kiss of her heart had led her to this moment of clarity, acceptance, and unconditional love. In the weeks that followed, they began to lay the foundation for their future together, discussing their dreams and aspirations. They traveled, explored new adventures, and supported each other's passions. The relationship flourished, built on a solid foundation of trust and understanding. As they walked through life together, Sarah learned that love was not just about passion, it was about connection, respect, and the willingness to grow together. She realized that the journey of self-discovery was ongoing, and each day brought new opportunities for growth. In the quiet moments, Sarah would often reflect on her journey and the choices that had led her to this point. She had learned that embracing her desires didn't mean forsaking her values, it meant understanding herself more deeply. The forbidden kiss of the heart had taught her that true love was rooted in honesty and vulnerability, and as she stood by Daniel's side, She felt a sense of gratitude for the journey that had shaped her. The memories of her past were no longer a source of pain, they were a testament to her growth and resilience. In the end, Sarah had discovered that love could be both a flame of desire and a sanctuary for the heart. The forbidden kiss had ignited a fire within her, guiding her toward a life filled with passion, purpose, and a love that felt like home. And with each passing day, she knew she had chosen the path that was right for her, a path paved with the beauty of newfound love and the promise of a bright future. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you enjoyed, then please like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.